Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. One of the big questions of the last couple of weeks has been what exactly is going on with the iLLeY situation right now. He was meant to join the Minnesota Rocket. That, it seems, is not going to happen any longer. What is going on therefore at the Seattle Surge? He made a guest appearance last night briefly on Dashy's stream, but also rumours that he doesn't want to play for Surge again. But importantly, Rambo doesn't want him to play for the team again either. What is going on here? Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, we have a Mapset update potentially to discuss. 6-star control. They've tried it for hardpoints. They are seemingly still trying it for search and destroy. But for control, this ain't happening anymore per sources. We thought, we hoped, we prayed there might be a change to the control map set, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Initially, it was meant to be invasion control on the chopping block. Then it was more like high-rise control on the chopping block. Now it's neither, apparently, and neither is going to be replaced. Now, I don't know if 6-star control is really any good. The pros have tried it. They seem to think the current map set is the way to go. I'm not personally convinced. What does frustrate me, however, is that surely there is some map that's better than these, right? High-rise control, I actually don't think is that bad. If I was to remove one, I'd probably get rid of invasion. It's not great, I'm not gonna lie, but at least both points are cappable, let's be real. Invasion, it's possible, it's just not great. Look, I'm gonna stay just TV off for map 3 in the series and come back for map 4. Like, that's probably how it's gonna go when it's an invasion control, which, you know, sometimes is the best decision. But actually, Assault says, of course, of Los Angeles Guerrillas, 6-star not being in is criminal. So he seems to be fully convinced that is the way to go, that's the better map. But also, got to understand, there's always politics when it comes to these decisions. Teams that like high-rise control, of which there are a fair few, they might not want to get rid of it if they don't think that they're going to be quite as good at 6-star. What does frustrate me a bit, though, is that departures control, Vista control, let's not talk about that, but departures control genuinely is all right, I think, and I would say it's better than invasion and probably high-rise. Crouching control is great, like, I think that needs no explanation, but, you know, Parasite says, call me crazy, this a few days ago now, but departures control isn't even bad, and Kenny says, yeah, like, almost departures are better than Vista as far as he's concerned, so... But for some reason, the pros didn't want to test departures control or even departures at all. That was the feeling that, yeah, departures might be viable, but the pros just don't want to test it. So, look, as I've said before, maybe it shouldn't be on the pros to make these decisions. There are going to be some positive changes to the map pool as far as we understand, but it's not going to be changing in control, so it is what it is. Challengers Cup, though, yesterday as well. A couple of champions, of course, around the world. In the European side, Vortex, Weeman, Hixian, Mythics get the job done. Weeman has been frying now for a long time in challenges, and there is a serious question as to the fact that if he was American, he'd probably be in the league already. That's not the case, unfortunately, as it stands. He's a name that's been around for a long time, but he has been killing it in this game especially, and there's a good argument to say that certainly next season someone of Weeman's caliber is going to get signed. Hopefully it's him, to be fair. In the Americas though, where of course it becomes slightly easier to get signed to the league, this is where teams will start to try and come into their own. The problem is, getting good now is nice. It's better to win now than never win at all, but where you really needed to win was about, 2 weeks ago, around about the Miami Major, when the teams were making their roster changes now, because the roster changes are now set in stone, and are there going to be any other changes from now to the end of the season? Quite possibly, yes. I think there will be more changes, but you got to understand, this weekend, the CDL is officially back, finally, and there are going to be, I think it's 11 straight weeks of COD from now until the end of Major 4, because there's 5 weeks of qualifiers, whatever it is, 4 weeks of qualifiers, 5 weeks, into Major 3 in Toronto, and then there's no break at all, straight into the Major 4 qualifiers. They run for several weeks, and then of course there's Major 4 that's meant to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I don't think that's happening anymore. Maybe without fans, there's rumours about it. We'll probably have an update in the relatively near future. But there's lots of COD to be played in a row. There is definitely not going to be any map set changes. I wouldn't say definitely, but, 1% chance of any map set changes, given the fact that there are, basically 4 days off between Major 3 and the start of the Major 4 qualifiers, and therefore there's also 4 days for teams to make roster changes in that period. So it becomes less likely teams will make moves going into the Major 4 qualifiers. They could still make moves before one of the majors during the qualifiers. I think we will see a couple of teams do that, but there isn't really any time for trials, right, or anything like this that the teams have enjoyed over the last couple of weeks. So winning now is fine, but it's not the ideal time to come good, as it were. But anyway, last night's NA Cup Cup 6 Grand Final was between FaZe Black and Temp's new roster, Temp, ProLuke, Capstone and Flames. Flames, of course, still the substitute for the Los Angeles Guerrillas, a team that I thought, to be honest, would have trialled him in the team already. Estriel has proven to be pretty damn good. Flames was his duo. Flames is an AR player. There's an argument that if Adam Assault continues to underperform, they could put him in, Flames in for Assault. But then again, they've got top 6 of both majors, which is realistically as well as you could possibly expect them to have done. RCT's team, by the way, they went out top 8 actually in this one. I think he played pretty well. Their hardpoint was pretty good, but yeah, they lost to Spart's team, so not the debut that he wanted really down in challenges. And yeah, he didn't seem too happy about it, of course, understandably, I guess, as a result. But Temp's team won the Challengers Cup Grand Final, so congratulations to these boys, of course, with phenomenal graphic, I've got to say, from Capstone. But yeah, ProLuke, Flames and Temp with Cap winning Challengers Cup number 6. So yeah, congrats to these guys. Finally, Temp's got a dub down there in Challengers, right? Because at the start of the season, there was a debate as to whether Temp had chosen to play in Challengers or whether he was effectively forced into that decision by not having any real CDL offers. The feeling was that Vegas probably would have brought him back if he wanted to go, but for various angles, he started off in Challengers, probably expected to kind of crush it somewhat, but it's difficult down in Challengers, right? Like, pretty much all the top 5 teams, 5-6 teams are just littered with former pros, so it makes it very challenging to win and win consistently. But yeah, congrats to Temp and these guys, and we'll see if that does anything really for their next steps trying to get back into the league. Yesterday morning as well, we discussed the Clayster drama when he was discussing these visa difficulties that various players are seemingly still having in the league, but yet some of those players are still playing in the league. And Clay was basically saying, look, some of these teams aren't really doing things by the rules, and there are certain players that haven't got their full visa as they should have to compete in this league, but yet they're still playing. And the implication would have been that Ravens, despite struggling with these things, have at least been doing it by the book, and therefore Clay would like that that parity to be equated across the league. Which players, which teams was he talking about? That was a question. But yeah, Clay then responds with this: seems like I pissed off some people. There's another conversation we can have too, but I don't think you guys are ready for that one. I swear the critical thinking skills of some of you'll never ceases to amaze me. So I don't know if Clay's trying to say that, oh yeah, what I'm talking about is super obvious, but look, I don't know. Feel free to speculate in the comments below what this other conversation we can have is, because he's already talked about the visa problems these teams are having apparently, and I'm certainly ready for Clay to have this conversation as well. Now, what conversation could this be? Of course, the first thing that comes to mind when it's like one of these things swept under the rug is the whole Adderall stuff, and we'll discuss that in a second, but it's like, that's well known, this ain't no secret at this point. So I don't exactly know what Clay is getting at here. Feel free to speculate, of course, in the comments below. But maybe if Clay wants to continue talking, then we'll certainly discuss it in due course. But speaking of that subject, we have to get into this iLLeY situation, right? Because it's been a big debate in the last few weeks. What is going on with iLLeY? What is the future here for this guy and for the Seattle Surge in general, and for where he might go? Because there was a big rumor emerging that he was, I don't even think it's a rumor, I think it's basically a fact, that he trialed with the Minnesota Rocker. That this is a known thing now. They were going to sign him. Now, either the scrims didn't go so well, which seems to be the prevailing opinion, I think, according to Parasite, or various reasons meant that I couldn't buy him out from Seattle Surge, which I also wouldn't be surprised. That is the theory, what's going on with iLLeY. But of course, he still signs to Surge, he's still contracted to Surge, as far as we understand, and clearly if Rocco are trialing him, he is able to play again. For whatever reason he was unable to play, of course, is still a matter of controversy, but nonetheless, he is able to play again, and he is still signed to Surge. So if Rocco aren't getting him for whatever reason, then why not bring him back to Surge? That's been one of the big questions, and for good reason. So Zero discusses here, it's kind of funny how this goes, right? Because Zero's like, well, I don't really want to talk about it, but here's the tea, like, let me just say exactly what I understand about the situation. But effectively, iLLeY signed to Surge. His belief is, Zero, and this is what I've heard as well, he was never banned. He was never banned officially by the league. Well, obviously not officially. The question is, was he ever banned unofficially? Was there a little note that came in Seattle Surge's inbox to say, hey, this is, a representative of Mr. Daniel Sy and the people that are running the league. We would advise XYZ iLLeY related situation. And that would honestly, that was the prevailing explanation for many, just because of the way that Surge handled it. They didn't even announce that iLLeY was gone. They just announced that aBeZy was in. The way they handled it, not saying anything about the iLLeY situation following that interview at the Boston Major, made people think, and I think understandably, that, well, is it not plausible that the CDL has actually done something about this, and that's the reason why Surge aren't addressing it. But apparently it was just Surge's call to, you know, take iLLeY out of the equation, make sure he stops the yo-yo-yos and whatever was causing that, and then potentially looking to bring him back in. But seems like even if he is okay now, hopefully that's the case, Parasite said as well that iLLeY's family was getting involved, then, you know, the feeling is that they'd bring him back, right? But apparently that's not happening.
I'm so curious about iLLeY. I know what happened, but like this is one of those things where I'm just not gonna say. All right, and I know like you're gonna be like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's just that's just the way it is. Bro. Like, obviously, I know what's happened, but like, I'm just not gonna tell you. How many gifted it is? It's nothing bad. Like it's just like one of those things. But iLLeY was never banned. iLLeY was never banned, and he will never play for Seattle again. I mean, he could play for Seattle, but I don't think he wants to. And I don't think Rambo wants him there either, if you catch my drift.
Shit. Like, then I touched my face once, and then, like, I'm just brain dead.
You being allergic to weed is like... I think.
Yo, what's good?
Yo, wait, is that Ender?
Yo.
Yeah,
What's good? We're live, what's good?
Oh, shit.
We're just playing ranked. Well, I'm watching ranked right now because I just ate.
What the fuck?
Wait, Ender, the Pope is here?
The Pope is here?
That's the fucking GOAT. That's actually the GOAT.
Man, pulled up.
So nice to see a guest appearance there from iLLeY on Dashy's stream, obviously old duo from way back in the day. That was honestly how Dashy had his come up as well, if you guys aren't aware of this, that iLLeY and Dashy was good as well, but they used to play lots of duo queues, you know, 2v2 chows, tournaments and stuff back in Infinite Warfare, I think especially, and at that point iLLeY was already well known as like a top search and destroy star, so if anything it was like Dashy that kind of rode the coattails of iLLeY to become, you know, known as the player that he is, and yeah, iLLeY was around the entire time as well. They played together, of course, had success together on OpTic Texas, and, well, while they were on OpTic Texas, their coach was Rambo for a period of time before we know the drama that happened with Dashy and the bowling stuff, and that, of course, is what ended up possibly on the thumbnail. But iLLeY had a great performance at Major 1, maybe there were performance-enhancing reasons as to why, that's another question entirely. But I think really where this leads to is, what is going on with the Rambo situation? Because his first year coaching for the Dallas Empire, they won the World Championship, they won multiple events, brought up the rookies in, you know, Shotzzy and iLLeY at the time, and obviously Hook's still a player that needed to be moulded a fair bit, but then again, they had Clay, they had Crimsix. How much did Rambo really do? That's a question certainly in hindsight when you look back at his last few years, because while sure, not everything that's happened with Rambo's teams over the last few years as the head coach of the roster has been his fault, the iLLeY thumb injury wasn't his fault, obviously, arguably wasn't iLLeY's fault either, that's just an unfortunate circumstance, but then again, the handling of the situation from Rambo's side, arguably you can criticise, and you look at his teams, every year his teams have had some sort of drama, really, apart from MW19, Cold War, they got rid of Hook, look at the minimap type thing, they brought in Vivid, still did pretty well, but you know, wasn't maybe enough, and then obviously he then goes to join OpTic right after that, the team has its problems for sure during the season, certainly with the iLLeY stuff, and then he has massive conflict with Dashy, and of course in the end they choose Dashy over Rambo, Rambo's dropped to the sidelines, eventually joins Surge as the coach GM, builds this terrible roster at the start of the season, of which the only bright spot really was iLLeY playing particularly well stage 1, but it's not like they're a good team. iLLeY was just rather often putting them on his back, to be honest, and then iLLeY's gone for, you know, reasons that I imagine Rambo can't really control, but the handling of it, again, is a bit of a question mark, and rumour has it, Rambo doesn't want iLLeY back in the team, for either because they still think there's concerns there, problems there, that iLLeY, you know, might not be, I don't know, able to be trusted, I don't know what you guys think about that with the situation, but yeah, Rambo don't want to bring iLLeY back, but also, is he willing to let iLLeY go? Is he going to comment on it? Is Rambo going to say anything? Is iLLeY going to say anything? I don't know, but it's just now kind of an opinion that has been going around the scene for the last couple of days that, well, maybe instead of looking so harshly on Dashy and on iLLeY and some of these other guys that Rambo has coached over the last few years, maybe Rambo's the problem, right? Maybe there's an argument to say that wherever Rambo has gone over the last few years, there have been questions in terms of construction of the roster, but most certainly also handling of internal team dynamics, and maybe that's, you know, just unlucky for Rambo, or maybe there is a good reason why some of these you know, situations have seemingly followed him around over the last few years. If you want to see more on iLLeY, by the way, we did a great video on the Breaking Point channel the other day, just kind of breaking down his career from right at the start and how much promise that he had and most certainly still has. And sure, he's a world championship winner, but he is not had the success that you might have expected given his prodigy level appearances when he was first coming up into the scene and put in the same category as Simp, and we know what Simp has gone on to achieve. iLLeY hasn't had the same success, and well, hopefully that can change. I really want to see him back in the league, and it was good to see him at least pop up on Dashy's stream yesterday. The Pope is back, you know, type thing. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he's going to be back in Surge anytime soon. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
My apartment, there's some baddies, bro. Every time I'm walking by, you know, flex the jawline a little bit, maybe pretend like I'm coming back from the gym type shit. One of these days, I'm gonna pull the trigger with some of these my neighbors. I'm just hoping one of them just like is randomly a COD fan, / OpTic fan, / NAR fans.